Hello, I'm Jerry Littner, and this is State of the Town, a monthly show when we meet with our first selectman, Lisa Heavner, and get brought up to date on the state of the town. And there's lots hopping and popping. Isn't there?
There is,
I mean, you have a
Jerry.
whole bunch of lists. Like, I got to tell you, though, this woman will never stop being a mom. She says to me, Jerry, these are things that I want to cover today. So you know what I said to her? You're not the boss of me, but guess what? We're going to cover what she wants to cover. And then we have a special guest who I haven't grilled one of these in a long, long time. So it's going to be fun. Stay tuned. Yes, ma'am. How's the town going?
You know, everything's going great. It's such a busy time. By the time this airs, as you know, we will have done September Fest, the Grange Fair, and the Simsbury Library. Bake
And
Sale.
everybody be exhausted. It's 95 degrees out there today.
It is. It
Oh,
is.
phew.
And we've opened the cooling centers, as we do whenever it gets too hot. There's one in the library and one in,
I noticed that, I came down to suck up the AC today. I seem to remember one year, and I don't know why that would be, but, like municipal buildings were running AC, didn't turn it on till 2 o'clock or something like that. So do we have an energy crisis at some point?
I don't know. That was before my time.
Oh, but don't they give you a big book, like pictures of the history, and everybody sitting around and sweating?
I don't have that book, so I will look for it.
Oh, God, I think one of the recent retirees probably took it.
I don't know.
And years later, they'll show up on Antiques Roadshow, and it'll be this documentary of what? The 6th best town in the United States?
Wow, we were the 9th in Money Magazine, but that's the first time we've ever broken the top 10, so we're very
What were
excited
we number
about
6
that.
for?
And schools.
Education.
Education, that's right.
Don't hint who our guest is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right. Okay, so, but after that, if people are still alive, haven't had heat stroke, we have a number of things
We
for them to do.
So coming up, we've got the Simsbury Women's Club 46th Annual Arts and Craft Festival, and that will be coming up on September 19th and 20th, and that's always fun. I go to that every year. Do you go to that, Jerry?
I do go every year. One of these years I'm going to enter. But I have always heard, and our daughter, son-in-law, granddaughter live in Guilford, here, the Guilford Art Show is like you can't believe. And they do have that beautiful central green, which is very nice. So maybe 3 years ago, we went to see it. I mean, it's supposed to be all these New York artists. It was all like very commercial kind of stuff, maybe like production stuff. Whereas these women get a great range of artists. And whoever juries that, I just think they have a super eye. And so there's stuff that interests all levels. It's done well. It's honestly presented as what it is.
That's right.
And actually, one of the artists that I think is great just passed away this year. So I'm see if her stuff's there or not.
Yeah. No, and it's all done by volunteers, so we really thank the women who organize that. It's a great addition to our town. It's one of the things that made us a top 10 town, because it's one of the many activities.
So have you ever entered?
I have not.
What do you do as an arts and craft? Quilting?
I do not. My mom is an artist, and she did that painting on the wall over there. So we'll get out there to take a picture of it.
Wait a minute. The one down at the end?
No, the one by our secret guest.
That I can see the side of the frame of?
Yes.
Great frame. It looks really super.
Well, we'll get you to take a picture of it later.
Who did that one?
I don't, that's done by a local artist. Those two, one was from the Historic Society, the barns I got from the Historic Society, and the cow was by a local artist. It was displayed at
When did the barn
Starbucks.
go up?
I went up right when I started.
I just noticed it today. It's really cool, and quite recognizable, but it's also sort of super realism. It sort of glows. It's sort of, what caused you to choose that? Or did they just say, here, take this and put it up in your office?
Well, I was at the Historic Society with Mary, and she goes, here, you need this. And so that I got it.
Well, she has a good eye.
Yeah,
good
she
job,
does.
Mary.
And we got a couple other things coming up. One is sort of new, where Simsbury is participating in an LGBT movable senior center.
LGBT, is that an automobile?
No, it's lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender seniors.
Oh,
So it's an
okay.
underserved population in our community. Our senior center has been working with other senior centers in the valley.
So is this the first year?
It is the first year. It's
For
going to
us or for all of them in the valley?
for all in the valley.
Who are the others in the valley?
We have working with us Avon, Bloomfield, Canton, and Newington. And so there are going to be 5 different senior center activities at each of the senior centers.
Jump to Newington? What happened to Farmington?
Well, we're hoping to get more involved.
Okay.
But the idea is to reach out to an underserved population. We hear a lot about LGBT in the news, and you see mostly young people, but we're also trying to reach out to our seniors because there are a lot of seniors in that.
Nice. So they come here and do what?
Well,
Play bridge.
Well, there might be an activity. There'll usually be a speaker. There might be a class, and there's always a meal associated. It's a 5-hour program.
So
It'll be
when
different
is
at
this
each
and
one.
what time is it? And
It's the first opening day is September 24th in Avon from 2:30 to 7:30. And
what's
can,
here? I'm not going to go to Avon.
Well, we haven't scheduled that date yet, so when that date's announced, we'll let you know. But
Oh, it's not all like a movable feast. It's
Oh, no.
5 hours each different place
Yes.
at a different day.
Right.
So we don't know our day yet.
Right.
Okay.
So that's kind of exciting. We're excited to offer that programming.
Yep.
And we have coming up a wellness fair Thursday, September 24th, where seniors and anyone from the community can go get their flu shot. So we're excited about that.
Something we may want to tell people about.
Oh.
I got a shingles vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
I got shingles.
You did?
Not from the vaccination. It was 2 years later, and they tell you this will not guarantee that you won't get it, but that if you do, it'll be more mild. I will tell you, if it's more severe than what I had, whew, get that vaccination. Okay, so flu shot. I saw in CVS a sign, flu shot. I said, wow, aren't we rushing the season? I'm so sad to see summer go, even though it's so
know.
hot out.
But it is important. I'm going to get my flu shot.
Of course.
So.
I mean, we would crumble as a town without you.
Oh, you're very kind.
No, but it's true. I get to this picture of Joan d'Arc with her flag and the big white horse, and here you'd be like all slumped over the flag, dragging on the ground.
Well, no worries. I am getting my flu shot. So
Okay.
I'm glad to hear you are too.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the last thing I just wanted folks to know about is the Veterans Appreciation Luncheon, which will be on October 1st at Eno, and it's free. So just call the Senior Center to sign up for that. And that's a great,
Oh wait, I'm a veteran. Nobody told me they were having a luncheon
I'm telling
for
you
me.
right now.
This is so I have to rely on public communications. It seems like a vet at least could get a little, lightweight envelope, standard postage.
Well, I'll see what I can do about that.
I'm not even on the board out there. I checked. I'm not on the board. I don't know when they stopped putting people on the board.
Oh, I don't know.
I
We'll
don't
have to
know
look
either.
into that.
Yeah. Okay. Special guest time.
I think so. 'Cause it is-
Introduce your guest.
Well, I'm very excited to have Matt Curtis, who's the superintendent of schools, who can talk to us about opening day, which is a great time of year.
Scooch
And-
over here.
Scoot
Scooch
on
over
over,
here,
huh?
Matt.
And we're off to a great start. I've only heard positive things.
Why are you scooting away from him?
Well, I'm
I
trying
wanna-
to make room
I
for
want to
him.
start stuff here So it's a pleasure to meet
Nice
you,
to
Matt.
meet you.
How
Nice
tall
to
are
meet
you,
you.
anyhow?
I am, well, I was. I don't know if I've started the shrinking process yet, but I'm 6'1", 6'1".
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, well, you read taller than that. Carry yourself well, I guess. Huh?
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay, so do you want us to know anything personal? Well, first of all, I should say
Yes.
I'm remiss because I don't know anything personal about you. And Joe Townsley, one of your predecessors, was always so slick at avoiding an interview on television. And then we did do the next one briefly when she first came on. So either you haven't talked to those people previously and weren't warned, or otherwise you're just really nice, open guy.
Actually, he's a really nice, open guy.
Oh, you say that about everybody.
No, I don't. I only say it if it's true.
Okay,
Well,
so
I've known Lisa for a long time. She was a huge advocate of the
Oh
of
my
the school
God, that's
system
how you
as her
got the
kids went
job
through.
then.
And,
No, I did not interview for him. So,
but trust me, when I leave, I'll call Joe and Diane and say, "Hey,
Hey.
you should have told me."
well, actually, because you were going to be on last month,
Yeah.
then things had to be changed. So in the meantime, a couple nights later, Joe and I were at the same dinner party.
Okay.
So I said, sit across from me because, well, he's the only person I know who talks as much as I do. So you're going, and I said, so I got this guy coming up, Matt Curtis, give me the skinny. What can I do? You know, what would you have hated to be asked when you were in superintendent?
Perfect.
They were great questions. I'm not going to use any of them because I am so out of date. Like, we now have a granddaughter
Okay.
going in the third grade, not
Yes.
here.
Yep.
But so once again, you know, the new programs and new approaches to education.
Sure.
I mean, when our daughter was in, it was new math. That's about as revolutionary as it got. Then there are all these ratings and all of that, you know. Oh, we don't have time. Okay, so is there anything personal you'd like to share, like felony, any background?
No, nothing there to add excitement to the show.
Oh, God,
but
another boring superintendent.
fourth year, you know, started my fourth year as superintendent, but over 10 in the district. I reside in Ellington, Connecticut with my family. I have 3 kids.
I think you like to play basketball.
I did do a little of that back in the day. I was a college basketball player before I
At
got hurt.
6'1", you'd have to be a point guard today.
I was little. I
Yeah.
was little then. But, you know, my children, 8th grade, 6th grade, and 1st grader. So,
Challenging time
you know.
in life as they grow. What is your job? Beat them on the head and shape them into something they don't want to be, or respect their individuality and hope they don't become an addict? It's tough times these days
Well,
for parents.
Yeah, it's not easy, complex times. You mentioned the differences in education, and there have been significant.
See,
Lisa and I
he's
talked
as good
about
as
it.
Joe. He can
Sweeping
turn the
times.
topic to
But you
something
know,
else.
he's right.
In
There's a lot
education.
of very
Yeah,
cool.
a lot of change.
Talk about it.
A
If you
lot of
stop
change.
interrupting me, Lisa, then I could ask about it.
So-
So, like, one of the things, the recent ratings that I
Yes.
saw were all of a sudden 46%, 43, 47% on English, math, whatever.
Okay. Yep.
But they said they're rating it on an entirely different basis. So could you explain a little of that?
Sure. So the rating you speak of there is the new Smarter Balanced test. So the Smarter Balanced test is for grades 3 through 8 and grade 11, and they test language arts, so reading, writing, listening skills, and mathematics. So we've always had a test in those grade levels.
Yeah.
It was called the Connecticut Mastery Test.
Yeah,
so this
we
is
did
kind
really
of
well.
we did.
Why is everybody doing so badly? Bad balance, I guess.
Well,
huh?
I would say this. You know, the data just came out last week, and I think people were a bit surprised at the language arts scores are pretty comparable to where we've been in terms of overall rating. So if I talk about Simsbury specific, you're in the 80s in most cases of percentage of kids that hit the mark. Our high school, Fortunate, had I think the second highest in the entire state.
Yeah, I looked at the
in
individuals.
language
like, well,
arts.
you know, whatever was being done here is also seemingly getting good results by
Yeah.
the new measurements. But some
It is.
places, the change was quite
Yeah.
dramatic.
Well, I think what you've seen, so while it was not just a new assessment, there's been new curriculum along the way. So we've been
Let's
under
talk
significant
about that.
curriculum revision to the Common Core over the last, I'd say, 3 to 4 years.
Does that restrict a school, a teacher, an administration's ability, because they see the students all the time?
Yeah.
So you get an idea of maybe what to teach, how to teach, when to present it, what materials to use. Now, when this other thing is in place, is that more restrictive and dictatorial? And if so, is that better or not?
Yeah. So we've always had standards, and that's kind of one of the misnomers about this movement. Connecticut always had rigorous standards. Locally, we're in charge of our curriculum, meaning how we present that in
How are
units of
those
study.
standards measured, whether you're meeting them or not?
So that's the Smarter Balanced assessment.
Okay,
is
before it was-
created.
Was there ever one when you had just your own? I mean, we had just our own?
I would say prior to the CMT,
Okay.
not in my
The
time.
CMC,
Connecticut Mastery Test.
okay.
So I would
All
say
these initials.
it may feel a little more restrictive as we go through this movement, meaning we're doing a lot of work to try to align those standards. And by standards, we say, what are the knowledge and skills kids need to know at the end of every grade level? So it's an identification of that. And now we go back and say, for example, mathematically in 3rd grade, how does our current curriculum practices align with that? And that's where we make adjustments. So we still have the autonomy to present the way we want. But, you know, no doubt the new standards are more rigorous. And I think on the math end, what you see is, you know, a 3rd grade score might be in the 80s, which we're familiar to seeing, but why is that 5th grade score in the 60s? And I think we have to go back and take a look at where we are with curriculum and alignment. So you see some ebbs and flows at the elementary level, kind of in the success rate on the new test of where things sit.
Well, our family has a debate currently about math, not here, but
Yeah.
I imagine if it's in Guilford, it's here also. So in 2nd grade, we go down, my wife and I, one afternoon a week and pick our granddaughter up from school and whatever the then scheduled activity is, take her there. Then we go to their house and Jan usually cooks a meal. And during that time, Riley and I do her homework. Her mom and dad are not back yet at that point. And then I read this great series to her, which is, I'm going to hate it when it's over. But anyhow, in doing the math, like, I never considered myself good at math, but I always got good grades in it. But the way it was taught so rigidly. And finally, when I got into college, and I went there because it had a high technical requirement, and I really was a very liberal arts sort of person, so I wanted the balance. And one of my professors said, you should consider topology. I said, map making? They said, no, that's topography. This is topology, and it's math that deals with relationships and uses formulas to do that, which I thought, it's kind of a little late to change my course, and so I didn't. But, so now when my daughter or her husband sit down with Riley to do her math, it's the way they were taught. It's rote, learn this, learn that. But, and then they have part of the new math, and she's good at it. But what they're teaching, already in 2nd grade, division, multiplication, partners, pairs, and their conceptual names. And I think it's great.
Right.
I mean,
it's
to be able to
focus
reason
much
in
more
that.
on problem solving and critical thinking, but to do that, you need
excuse
the
me.
foundational skills. So
Okay,
it is a balance of both.
So
And I
do you
think when
think it's the
people-
foundational skills that more emphasis are being put on now?
I think that it's a balance. I think we may have gotten away from that a little bit, and
Okay.
now the need to really build those foundational skills for students so that they can think critically and they're not spending all their time on the process-oriented math. But I think, we're going towards striking, I think, a good balance of identifying what those skills are, setting kids up for success as they
You
enter
mean
into high
going there?
school.
We weren't there before? It's Townsley and people like that.
Yeah.
They
Well,
kept us from.
I think it's managing all the change that has come our way and trying to get a balance, But on the math front, not to push that back with ratings, because ratings are one point in time. But the SBAC in 11th grade. On the math scores, we did have the highest math scores on that assessment in the state of Connecticut. So we've always talked about our high school programming and how we have different venues for kids to go into to find the unique areas that their interest lies, but we also support kind of things through a very rigorous experience. And I think the results, they do play out that way. We've had success for a long time with Joe, with Diane.
Well, let's talk about
and now
that.
moving
When did our
forward.
success begin? And what kind of a conflict is it when you come into a school system that has a history of such success
Yeah.
to maintain that? I know,
Right.
first of all, you take all the money from the town, and Lisa's left with hardly anything
Right.
to work with.
We're
So
happy
that's
to
part of it.
support education. Can I tell you why, Jer?
Well, I know why, because your mother. No, go ahead. Why?
Well-
Because it increases the value of the community.
It does. It increases
Absolutely.
home values. It's what attracts new residents, new businesses. It's what gets us national rankings. It's important to support education. But one of the things Matt has done since he's been there is really phenomenal, and I think you should ask him about it.
Okay,
The
what's
diff-
really phenomenal
the
about what
different
you've done,
paths
Matt?
of learning, student learning clusters.
But let me step back. And I'm not going to.
Don't ever point your finger at me. I would accidentally. I'm not 6 feet anymore, but
Is this like the late night entertainment show of
No, I'm
Simsbury, or
telling
when
you,
do
I
they
just
play
like-
this? This is
there's
something.
nothing that drives me up the wall
All
like
right.
having at Lisa does it all the time.
So, you talked about sustaining this success and maybe pressures that are related to that. But I would say, when I came into this community, you think about why we're successful. You think about what makes us successful and desirable. You have parents who are incredibly involved, and they're smart. You have a really dedicated staff.
Helicopters.
And you have
Wow.
kids who by and large come ready to learn and excited about learning. So foundationally, we're in a great place.
Yeah, and it's sort of, in some ways, people who come here, often young families for the education,
Right.
unfortunately, a lot of them leave afterwards. But one of the things that stresses me so much, and it's not something there's a need to do here, I guess, because the family backgrounds, I know all 6 of us, the other 2 grandparents, we, and my daughter and son-in-law, read constantly
Right.
to our
Right.
daughter. I mean, she reads like at our granddaughter, 5th grade level. But the way the mind develops, second major in education, blah, blah, blah. So the mind, when it's that young mind, there are certain most opportune times for a certain aspect of intelligence to develop. And it just breaks my heart when you see the difference of kids coming in with no prior exposure, where maybe that value system didn't work for their parents, so it's not something that happens automatically. And they're swimming upstream to try to regain that. So we're here, you're right, to interview you, not to talk about my opinions on things. However, one other, creativity versus rote learning. Now, if we go way back, I'm doing this, because now this is how far back I go.
Yep.
You're Harry Truman, the buck stops with you. You don't get the credit for anything, but boy, if there's something wrong with our educational system, Matt, we're sticking it on you. So the more creative kids, like for a while that we had an alternative education program here in town. This goes a few years back. It was cut out of the budget. I helped raise money for the skate park. During that period, I met a number of these kids who, it was still high school, it was Simsbury High School, it was maybe more trade-oriented. They blossomed in that environment.
Well, luckily for you, Matt can talk about the learning clusters, because that's an alternate
Okay,
path.
let's do that.
And we have a different alternate path for similar students called Pathways. So I
That
think
sounds kind of religious.
I think, well, it's not. I think one of the things that does make us unique and separates us, because I often get asked this question, Avon's a great high school, Farmington's a great high school,
It's
and they
not
are.
anymore.
great
All the
schools.
controversy. They're so concerned. They're plunging.
I don't want to point at
And
you,
we
but
keep,
let me.
And we keep climbing up there, and they're like, they go down and down and down.
Avon's a good neighbor.
It is. All right, so we.
And what about these psychologists instead of counselors? Do we have both? Oh my goodness, we only have a few
You'd have
minutes
to
left.
call them and ask them about
Okay, I'm
that,
going to be
Jerry.
quiet, Matt. Please go ahead.
But one of the things we are proud about, and when Neil Sullivan was the principal at Simsbury High School, he's now in central office, he worked very closely
What
with...
central office?
That's our central office administration, so he's our, heads up our personnel department.
Oh, okay.
So we looked at various areas or elective programs outside of the core curriculum at Simsbury High School and started to talk about more effective ways to provide opportunities for kids that are interested, whether it's engineering, culinary arts, the theater, but rather than have a splattering of different course offerings that might change year to year, how do you really build a 3 or 4 year track so students can build success towards college? So one of the examples, and Lisa, you can probably speak to this personally, is the engineering track. So we have several engineering offerings for our students. I know your son participated.
He did.
Project Lead the Way are the name of the courses. So engineering 1, 2, there's biomedical opportunities for students. But you're really
Names.
able to...
Project Lead the Way.
It's exciting.
That's
so
a
it's
national
hands-on.
program. It's actually a national program.
It's inquiry-based. Certainly there is a cost to these programs.
If you say inquiry-based,
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can interpret that. One of the parents' nights we went to, I was really horrified. Our daughter learns like I do.
In another town, the parents' night you went
No,
to.
it was here.
No?
And it was like, if I don't understand why, damn, I'm not good at
Right.
road stuff. Now, if I can get to a point about why there can't be a why,
Yeah.
then I can accept the road. But that has to be demanding on a teacher when some kid is saying, well, why? Which was my daughter.
Right.
Now, she graduated with honors, which ended up going to a private school. But
Yeah.
the fact that it got in the teacher's way, as opposed to that being an inspirational point to jump off,
Yeah.
as a learning point. Now, when you say inquiry-driven. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. So more of you talk about engineering, more of you're working on the CAD system or whatever you're working on, building 3D models and actually producing products.
Great.
Figuring out how to solve problems. It's very hands-on, very analytic,
I love it.
critical thinking. It's
Gotten
wonderful.
great feedback as kids go on to college and on to schools of how well they felt prepared after being involved in these type of tracks.
No
so it's
question.
something we talk a lot about during budget time. We talk a lot about as we think of we're becoming smaller as a school system. We have declining enrollment, which is a whole nother
Don't close
topic.
Central. We
But
live across from Central. It
you
makes
like
me
this
so
school.
happy to hear all of the noises. Okay, Matt, you gabbed on, and we're running out of time. I want to
Jerry,
thank
we need a couple hours.
We can do this. We
you
can
know
do
what
this.
I mean?
Hey,
so and an
call
agenda.
the station.
And an agenda,
no
Jerry.
agenda. Call the station and request a new series with the superintendent and that.
Next time I
definitely
come
the
with my
interview,
list, Jerry.
because Lisa's going to kick me out. So Lisa, thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
not
Jerry.
kicking me out
You're
this time.
welcome.
Did I behave myself?
You did. I'm so proud of you, Jer.
Darn.
I'm so proud of you.
Okay, guys, I'm glad you could stop in this month. We'll see you again next month on State of the Town.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.